The world of the ancient lands 25 million years ago. The world was a place of wild wonders and hidden dangers. Imagine a still-forming earth where continents moved slowly like sleeping giants, and the air was filled with the scent of damp soil, giant flowers, and the distant roar of volcanoes. There were no cities with tall towers or paved roads. Instead, vast forests covered the planet like a living green mantle, with trees so tall that their canopies touched the clouds, forming a natural ceiling that filtered the sunlight into golden beams. Wide, rushing rivers snaked through the landscape, carrying crystal-clear waters full of shiny fish and ancient secrets. Towering mountains rose like sentinels, their slopes covered in moss and vines that seemed like pulsing veins of Mother Earth. In this prehistoric era, dinosaurs dominated the scene. There were the giant herbivores like sauropods with long necks that stretched to reach fresh leaves in the treetops, their steps making the earth tremble like a giant drum. Fierce predators, like tyrannosaurs with teeth sharp as blades, hunted in the shadows, their roars echoing through the valleys like thunder. But beyond these scaly, clawed creatures, there existed something more mysterious and eternal: the spirits of nature. They were not visible to ordinary eyes, but they whispered in the winds that rustled the leaves, danced in the flames of natural bonfires sparked by lightning or eruptions, and guarded the balance between creation and destruction. It was in this primordial world that the legend of Boitatara, the Celestial Fire Serpent, was born. She was not an ordinary serpent, like those that slither silently over damp earth in search of prey. Boitatara was a celestial entity, forged in the fire of stars and the fury of terrestrial lava. Her body was immense, long like a river crossing mountains, covered in scales that glowed like living embers, changing color from the intense red of sunset to the fiery orange of dawn. But what truly made Boitatara unique were her eyes, not two or three, like in common creatures, but thousands of them, scattered along her entire serpentine length, like a living constellation moving across the land. Each eye was a small sun, emitting a reddish, hypnotic light that could illuminate the darkest nights of the forest or blind the reckless who dared challenge her with malicious intent. Boitatara did not live on hunt or carnal hunger. She fed on the pure essence of life, the filtered heat of the sun warming the leaves of trees, the rising steam from waterfalls evaporating in the air, and the deep pulse of the earth, like a giant heart beating beneath the crust. Her mission was sacred: to protect the primordial forests, those that sprang up after the great volcanic catastrophes, when the world seemed to be reborn from ashes. 25 million years ago, the earth was in constant transformation. Active volcanoes spewed fire and ash into the sky, tinting the horizon shades of orange and thick gray. Rivers of boiling lava snaked through the landscape, devouring everything in their path with a hungry roar. But it was in these moments of chaos that Boitatara appeared. Like a serene guardian, she guided lost seeds to fertile soils, calmed wild flames with her balanced presence, and whispered promises of renewal to terrified creatures. Chapter 1. The Awakening of the Fiery Heart. In the heart of the ancient lands, where the forest was densest and oldest, lived a special people called the Root Guardians. They were not humans as we know them today, but ancestral beings, small and agile, with skins covered in natural moss that camouflaged them among the plants. Their eyes were large and curious, reflecting light like dewdrops, and they walked upright using tools made of polished bones and stones. They spoke in soft whispers, like the wind among the leaves, and believed that the forest was a great living body, where each tree was a bone, each river a vein, and each flower a sigh of Mother Earth. The leader of this clan was Yara, a wise and brave female, with long hair braided with flexible vines and a necklace adorned with fossil shells that tinkled like bells in the wind. Yara had been born under a shower of shooting stars, and from a young age, she dreamed of visions of fire and light. Her younger brother, Tupi, was her opposite, an adventurous and impulsive youth, with eyes that sparkled like hot coals and a laugh that echoed like the song of birds. Together they explored the edges of the forest, gathering red and sweet fruits from ancestral trees, fleeing from curious dinosaurs that came too close, and collecting seeds that they planted in new soils to expand the Green Kingdom. On an ordinary day, while Yara climbed a colossal tree to reach the highest fruits, a deep tremor shook the ground. The leaves trembled as if cold, and a low roar came from the earth's depths, like the groan of a beast awakening from a millennial sleep. It was the fiery heart, the distant volcano that had slumbered for generations, now stirring with renewed fury. Black smoke rose into the sky like a dark serpent, and the air filled with an acrid smell of sulfur, mixed with the perfume of closing flowers in panic. The root guardians gathered in a sacred circle in the center of the camp, touching the soil with their palms to feel the vibrations rising like waves. "Mother Earth groans in pain," said Yara, her voice calm like the flow of a nearby stream, but with an urgency that made hearts race. "The fiery heart has awakened. We must prepare the nests, wrap the seeds in protective leaves, and ready ourselves for the journey. But I feel something more in the air, an ancient presence, like a fire that does not burn, approaching us." The elders murmured in agreement while the children clung to their mothers, eyes wide with fear and fascination. Tupi, always the brave one, raised his fist. "Then let's face it. I'll lead the hunt for a safe path." Yara smiled, but her eyes carried worry. She knew the volcano was not just a furious mountain, it was a portal to greater forces, and the forest's balance hung by a thread. That night, the sky filled with shooting stars, remnants of constellation tears weeping for the Earth's agitation. The air was charged with electricity, and the guardians gathered around a ritual bonfire, singing ancient hymns that begged for protection. It was then that Boitatara emerged from the forest shadows. Her sinuous body slid silently over the soft moss, leaving a trail of soft sparks that turned into luminescent flowers, sprouting like fallen stars on the ground. Her thousands of eyes blinked in a hypnotic rhythm, like a secret code written by the stars, illuminating the camp with a reddish light that warmed without burning. The guardians froze in astonishment. The children hid behind their mothers' skirts. The warriors grabbed their sharpened bone spears, and the elders murmured prayers in forgotten tongues. Yara, however, felt a pull in her heart. She took a step forward, extending her open hands in a sign of peace, palms up as if offering the pure air of the forest. "O serpent of the fallen stars," she said, her voice firm despite the inner tremor. "Do you come as a friend or as a judge of our fate? Mother Earth tests us, and we seek wisdom in her flames." Boitatara halted her graceful advance, her enormous body coiling around a colossal rock like a living jewel being adorned. One of her eyes, the largest of all, fixed on Yara, glowing with an intensity that made the air ripple like heat over hot stones. From that eye came not a harsh sound, but a voice of pure heat, a whisper that warmed the surrounding air and formed visible words in the rising vapor. "I am Boitatara, the fire that creates and destroys, sent from the heavens to seal the fate of this beloved land. The fiery heart will roar with fury, bringing the end of an era with rains of fire and darkness. But from its hot ashes, something new and exuberant will be born, stronger than before. Follow me, root guardians, and I will guide you through the shadows that come." Boitatara's words echoed in everyone's hearts, dispelling fear like mist in the sun. Yara bowed her head in reverence, and the entire clan followed suit, feeling for the first time that the catastrophe could be not just destruction, but a bridge to rebirth. Chapter 2. The journey begins. Lessons of controlled fire. With the dawn, the journey began. The Root Guardians clan, about 50 strong and united souls, packed their belongings into backpacks woven from resilient fibers, seeds wrapped in damp leaves, polished stone tools, dried fruits for the trip, and bone amulets carrying ancestral spirits. Boitatara led the way, her serpentine body cutting through the dense vegetation like a blade of light. Her soft glow illuminated the path ahead, revealing hidden trails that wound between exposed roots and murmuring streams. The air was warmer now, laden with the smell of churned earth and the buzz of insects fleeing the growing heat. As they marched, Boitatara began to teach her first secrets. "Fire is not an enemy," she said, her vapor voice forming dancing clouds around the group. "It is the heart of creation. Behold." With a graceful movement, she detached one of her scales, which fell to the ground like an incandescent leaf, glowing with inner heat. "Take it carefully, guardians, and strike it with a smooth stone until the heat bends to your will." Yara was the first to try, her hands trembling slightly at the touch of the hot scale. She struck with a round stone, and sparks flew like miniature stars. Gradually, the spark turned into a controlled flame, small and obedient, dancing in her palm without burning the skin. The guardians watched open-mouthed. Tupi, excited, took a similar spark and used it to light a pile of dry leaves, creating the first controlled bonfire of the journey. "Now we can roast the fruits," he exclaimed, laughing as the sweet smell of caramelized pulp filled the air. Other guardians, like the healer Wind Whisperer, an elderly, thin man with lichen beards, and the weaver Yara, whose nimble hands created nets that captured even the most fleeting dreams, experimented too. Wind Whisperer used the fire to harden clay, shaping simple pots that would hold water longer. Yara saw potential in heated threads, weaving stronger nets that would withstand volcanic rains. But the journey was not only one of joyful lessons. The volcano roared louder each day, sending tremors that made stones roll from the slopes and fine ashes fall like dirty snow. The sky, once infinite blue, now tinted gray, and the sun struggled to penetrate the thick clouds. The guardians felt the weight of uncertainty. "What if the fire swallows us before we reach the valley?" murmured a mother, cradling her crying child. Boitatara, sensing the doubts like shadows in her sensitive eyes, would stop the group at night and tell stories of her origin to rekindle hope. Chapter 3. Boitatara's Celestial Origin. Under the starry mantle, now speckled with meteors that seemed to echo Luminara's fall, Boitatara coiled her body around the camp, forming a protective circle of comforting heat. Her eyes blinked in rhythmic patterns, like a living night sky, and from one of them came her ethereal voice. "Listen, children of the earth, to the story of how the sky kissed the soil to create me. Eons ago, before the ancient lands solidified into their current form, the universe was a vast void of solitary stars, floating in an infinite sea of darkness. Each star shone alone, yearning for connection, but trapped in cold, eternal orbits. One of them, called Luminara, was the brightest and most curious of all. From her high post, she gazed at the young earth, a blue and green orb speckled with volcanic reds, and dreamed of touching the pulsing soil. "I want to feel the heat of the life that throbs below," thought Luminara, her light trembling with emotion. And so, in an act of cosmic rebellion, she detached from her orbit, falling through layers of ethereal clouds and stellar winds, like a tear of fire tearing through the sky's veil. The impact was titanic, a boom that echoed through the ends of space. The Earth's crust cracked like an eggshell, and lava gushed from deep wounds like boiling blood. From the violent fusion of celestial star and terrestrial rock, Boitatara was born. Her body formed first from the lava streams, scales of melted quartz solidifying into flexible plates like fiery silk, resistant to wind or water's touch. Then came the eyes, each remnant fragment of Luminara transformed into a luminous orb scattered along her length, capable not only of seeing the present clearly, but of capturing echoes of the distant past, memories of ancient oceans drying up, and glimpses of an uncertain future like forests reborn from ashes. Boitatara crawled for the first time over the newly formed land, feeling Mother Earth's pulse like a shared heartbeat. "I am the bridge between sky and root," she murmured to herself, her voice still echoing like the crackle of distant flames. For millennia, she wandered alone through the wild lands, shaping canyons with her body's heat, planting seeds in sterile deserts by warming the soil until tender sprouts burst forth, and calming volcanic storms with whispers of light. But fate, the invisible weaver, called her to the root guardians, a people born from the first rains that fell after the great primordial drought. I exist to remind that sky and earth are one, Boitatara concluded, her eyes shining brighter. Each of my eyes is a fallen star, guarding memories of lost worlds and promises of worlds to come. Follow me, and together we will seal the fiery heart, transforming fury into fertility. The guardians, inspired, fell asleep that night with dreams of friendly fire, feeling for the first time that the journey was not just survival, but evolution. Chapter 4. Shadows in the Depths. The Devourer and His Specters. The journey's peace, however, was tested early. As the group crossed a red stone canyon, where echoes of ancestral dinosaurs still resounded on the rocky walls like ghosts of past roars, a malevolent presence stirred in the shadows. The Shadow Devourer, Boitatara's dark opposite, was born from the volcanic darkness that accumulated in the Earth's deep fissures. He was cold and sticky, an entity hungry for light, envying the celestial glow of the serpent. His body was a living vortex of darkness, with smoke tentacles extending like icy claws, smothering everything they touched. His servants were the ash specters, walking clouds that whispered doubts into the hearts of the living and devoured the green of plants with a spectral touch. The first attack came on a cloudy afternoon, as the group rested by a bubbling stream. The sky darkened suddenly, as if a giant hand had covered the sun, and an icy wind swept through the forest, carrying distant howls. The trees groaned, their leaves falling like black tears, and the specters emerged from ground cracks, ethereal forms writhing like living smoke. Yara raised her bone spear, heart pounding, but the shadows passed through it like mist, chilling the skin and sowing panic. "Protect the children," she shouted, while Tupi brandished an improvised torch, the fire trembling against the supernatural cold. It was then that Boitatara rose in all her glory, her body uncoiled like a living rope of fire, whipping the air with a hissing sound. Her thousands of eyes ignited in unison, creating a spectacle of light that pierced the darkness like flaming arrows. "Return to the abyss from which you came, devouring shadows," thundered her voice of flames echoing like a miniature volcano. The specters howled in agony, their forms dissolving into gray smoke that dissipated at the touch of light, but not without cost. A dark tentacle grabbed Tupi, Yara's young brother, dragging him into a dark fissure in the ground. His scream echoed briefly before being swallowed by silence. The loss shook the clan like an emotional earthquake. Tears flowed like uncontrolled rivers, and doubts grew like weeds in the hearts. "Why didn't the celestial fire protect us completely?" asked Wind Whisperer, his voice trembling for the first time. Lyra hugged her child, eyes full of fear. Boitatara, with a gentleness contrasting her imposing presence, coiled her body around the wounded camp, transmitting a comforting heat that warded off the residual cold. "Balance demands sacrifice, my friends," she explained, one eye blinking softly at each downcast face. "I am fire, but fire needs air to live, shadow to shine. Without darkness, there is no true light. Tupi is not lost forever. He is the bridge between this world and the underworld of deep roots. Trust, and he will return transformed." That night, under Boitatara's comforting glow, the clan united in a ritual of mourning and hope. They lit bonfires in a circle, singing hymns mixing sorrow and strength, and shared stories of past losses that led to greater gains. Yara, sitting beside the serpent, touched one of her scales and whispered, "Teach us to fight the shadows, Boitatara. Not just with light, but with the heart." The celestial serpent tilted her head, and from her smaller eyes came glimpses, images of how fire could be shaped into flame shields, or how collective song could amplify each one's inner light. Chapter 5. Unexpected allies and trials on the path. Inspired by resilience, the Guardians proceeded the next morning, the canyon giving way to open plains dotted with thorny bushes and streams reflecting the gray sky. Boitatara slid ahead, her glow revealing hidden paths between black volcanic rocks, like petrified veins of the earth. The journey led them to find unexpected allies. A herd of giant herbivores, creatures with thick skins and horns curved like crescent moons, grazed peacefully. These beings, ancestors of future mammals, felt Boitatara's heat and approached, their large eyes full of curiosity. The herd's leader, an immense bull named Trunkstrong, lowered his head in greeting, allowing the guardians to mount his broad backs to carry the weakest and provisions. Even the sky sent help. A bird with iridescent feathers, the wind messenger, landed on Yara's shoulder, its wings beating like rainbow fans. It pecked messages in a coat of colored feathers, warning of dangers ahead, like treacherous ravines or swarms of venomous insects awakened by volcanic heat. Tupi, in his underworld dreams, sent echoes through the bird, glimpses of healing roots and secrets of hidden waters. But the shadow devourer did not give up easily. He sent false visions to test the group's faith, illusions of oases with golden fruits that revealed themselves as treacherous black mud swamps. It was thus that Kale, the impetuous warrior with scars from past battles against predators, fell into the trap. Seduced by a mirage of crystal waterfalls, he ventured into a shadowy bog, sinking to his waist in mud that sucked like hungry mouths. "Help!" he cried, panic tinting his voice as shadows whispered promises of oblivion. Boitatara dove without hesitation, her body heating the surrounding earth until the mud bubbled and released Kale with a reluctant sucking sound. The warrior emerged covered in foul sludge, coughing and gasping. "Thank you, Serpent of the Stars," he stammered, falling to his knees. "I doubted you, thought the shadows were stronger." Boitatara blinked a friendly eye, her soft light washing the dirt from his soul. "Doubt is the fuel of growth, Kale, like fresh air that feeds the fire. Without it, there would be no higher flames. Rise and use that lesson to protect the others." As they approached their destination, the Valley of Eternal Waters, a hidden oasis promised by Boitatara as a safe refuge, the volcano's tremors intensified. Rocks flew from the sky like flaming meteors, and the ground shook as if Mother Earth wept tears of lava. Yara, exhausted but determined, walked beside the serpent, her spear now forged with a scale from Boitatara, glowing with inner light. "What awaits us in the valley, Celestial Guardian?" she asked, sweat trickling down her dust-marked face. Boitatara coiled a loop of her body around her, transmitting a heat that invigorated tired muscles. "You will be reborn there, Yara. I will seal the fiery heart with my eternal fire, calming its fury. But a part of me will remain with you, in the eyes of nocturnal creatures that watch the forest in the glow of dawns that announce new days, and in the pulse of your own hearts, when you protect what you love." Chapter 6. The Epic Battle in the Valley of Eternal Waters. It was a hidden paradise between high cliffs, with crystal waterfalls falling in silver veils, flowers that sang in the wind with vibrant petals, and a central lake whose healing waters bubbled with mineral steam bubbles. Fruit trees bent under the weight of golden mangoes and red berries, and the air was pure, washed by rising mists. The guardians exclaimed in joy, running to the waters to wash away the journey's grime, while the children laughed for the first time in days, splashing in shallow pools. But the joy was ephemeral. The shadow devourer waited in the valley's heart, his colossal form blocking the entrance to the sacred lake, a swirling vortex of darkness with smoke tentacles extending like evil roots. "You shall not pass, fallen star," he hissed, his voice a chorus of icy whispers that made bones ache. "This light will be mine, and with it the entire forest will bow to eternal shadows." The epic battle began then, a clash of elements that shook the valley like a primordial hurricane. Boitatara advanced with fierce grace, her body whipping like a flaming spear, slicing the tentacles with bursts of pure flames. Her eyes exploded in blinding bursts of light, burning the shadowy edges of the devourer and forcing him to retreat with howls of pain. The enemy counterattacked with fury, enveloping the serpent in layers of icy shadows that temporarily extinguished her flames, sucking the heat from her body like a voracious parasite. The air filled with hissing vapor, and the ground cracked with the impact of their clashes, sending shockwaves that toppled ancient trees. The guardians, terrified but resolute, watched from the valley's edges. Yara shouted above the chaos, "Remember Boitatara's teachings. The fire needs us. They lit bonfires in a great circle around the battle, using celestial scales to create unified flames. Their ancestral songs rose like a sound wave, hymns of light and unity that amplified the serpent's glow. Wind Whisperer beat leather-stretched drums, Lyra wove nets of light with heated threads, and Kale led the warriors in a ritual dance invoking the sun. Even Trunk Strong and his herd joined, stamping hooves on the ground to send vibrations that weakened the shadows. The air filled with collective heat, fueling Boitatara like wind in sails. Her eyes shone with solar intensity, and with a celestial roar that echoed to the stars, she pierced the black heart of the devourer. The dark entity imploded in a flash of collapsing darkness on itself, its essences dissipating like mist at dawn, leaving only relieved silence and a smell of burned ozone. Chapter 7. The Sacrifice and Rebirth. With the enemy defeated, Boitatara flew, raising her serpentine body into the air with ethereal flame wings emerging from her scales, to the top of the fiery heart, now a smoking mountain a few kilometers away. Her body stretched to the sky, merging with the ash-laden clouds, becoming a living bridge between Earth and cosmos. She spat pure fire from her eyes, a jet of celestial essence that sealed the volcanic crater, with a crust of shiny obsidian, black as night, but veined with trapped stars. But the price of balance was high. Boitatara sacrificed her full form, fragmenting into fire seeds that fell like luminous rain across the surrounding forest. Each seed was a piece of her soul, carrying Luminara's glow and the wisdom of the ancient lands. Back in the valley, Yara searched for Tupi and found him alive by the lake's edge, emerging from the healing waters like reborn. His skin now had a subtle glow, and his eyes carried echoes of Boitatara's eyes. "I saw the underworld," he recounted. His voice changed to a deeper tone. "Roots that intertwine with stars, healing secrets flowing from the depths. The shadows tested me, but our serpent sister's fire guided me back." Tears of joy mixed with the valley's waters, and the clan gathered in embraces, feeling the cycle complete. Chapter 8. Boitatara's Eternal Legacy. Years passed like leaves falling from an eternal tree. The Root Guardians rebuilt their lives in the Valley of Eternal Waters, planting Boitatara's seeds in fertile soils. From them grew extraordinary trees, with bark red like cooled lava, whose branches intertwined at night, forming serpents of light that watched over the living's sleep. Fruits from these trees healed wounds and illuminated minds, and their roots spread, connecting the valley to distant forests, weaving a network of renewed life. Yara, now an elder with silver vines in her hair, told Boitatara's story around community bonfires, her voice a river of wisdom. She taught us that fire is not just destruction, but creation. It is the balance between sky and earth, light and shadow, end and beginning. Tupi, become a shaman, used his inherited eyes to glimpse futures, guiding the clan through coming seasons. Kale, redeemed, trained young warriors in the art of controlled fire, while Lyra wove tapestries capturing the battle in eternal light threads. Boitatara's legend wove into the earth's fabric, echoing through the ages. But her original essence from 25 million years ago was purer and deeper, a reminder that every catastrophe carries the seed of beauty, that sacrifice forges unbreakable bonds, and that celestial fire lives in each of us waiting to shine when we need it most.